Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. It's unacceptable. Ben Shephard, shocking update drops just a few minutes ago. What happened to Ben Shephard's wife? Broken our hearts. This new must-see. It was a typical autumn morning in southwest London. The leaves painted the pavements gold, the air held a crispness that hinted at winter, and Ben Shephard stood barefoot in his kitchen, humming quietly as he flipped pancakes. Outside, the quiet hum of life stirred, dog walkers, joggers, and the occasional sound of children's laughter. Inside his sunlit kitchen, however, everything was peaceful. "Blueberries or chocolate chips?" he called out. From the hallway came a voice, soft and amused. Both, obviously. That voice belonged to Annie Shephard, his rarely seen but quietly formidable wife of over 20 years. A successful interior designer with a sharp eye and a sharper wit, Annie had spent the better part of her adult life ensuring their home remained private, a sanctuary away from red carpets and press cameras. Their sons, Jack and Sam, now teenagers, groaned as they shuffled into the room, still half asleep, but already bickering over football, school, and who had last used the Xbox. And in that kitchen, over pancakes and shared glances, the public figure known to millions as the smiling host of Tipping Point and Good Morning Britain disappeared. Here, he was just Ben, dad, husband, teamaker, pancake flipper, but the journey to this peaceful corner of family life had been anything but simple. Born in Essex, Ben Shephard had always carried a cheeky sparkle in his eye. From his school days at Chigwell School to studying dance and theater arts at Birmingham University, Ben had always been both performer and observer, someone who thrived in front of people, but listened just as intently behind the scenes. Long before he became a household name, he was running around with a camcorder, filming student plays and local gigs. His first jobs were a far cry from TV studios. He served drinks at pubs, worked on construction sites, and once dressed as a Christmas elf for a shopping center in Romford. Then came his first big break, a stint at Channel 4 on The Bigger Breakfast. It was chaos, he once recalled in an interview, but good chaos. I learned everything, from producing...
Breaking news. His colleagues joked about his dad radar. He even had a rule: no filming past 6 p.m. unless absolutely necessary. In interviews, Ben would occasionally mention "my incredible wife" or "my kids keeping me humble." But beyond those brief mentions, he never let cameras get too close. Until one day, during a rare family outing at a charity football match, the world got a glimpse of the Shephards, laughing together in the stands, Annie in oversized sunglasses, the boys waving signs that said, "Go Dad!" Twitter exploded. "Ben Shephard has the most wholesome family ever," read one post. Another added, "His wife is stunning. Can we get her on this morning as an interiors expert?" But the Shephards, they went home, turned off their phones, and had takeaway pizza. What most didn't know was that behind the smiles, there had been hard years too. Annie's mother had passed away suddenly in 2017. It had shattered her. For weeks, she barely left the bedroom. Ben cleared his schedule entirely. No shows, no interviews, just Annie. "I saw how fragile she could be," he later told close friends, "and how strong she really was." Then in 2020, Ben nearly lost his father to a heart attack. He shared a rare emotional message on Instagram. "Today, I'm grateful for every second we get with those we love. Don't wait to say the words." The public response was overwhelming, but true to form, Ben kept the details minimal. What mattered most was always behind the lens. So what does a day in the Shephard household look like? Weekends are sacred. Saturday mornings often begin with a full English breakfast cooked by Ben, followed by chaotic board games, where Sam is obnoxiously competitive and Jack insists on making up his own rules. Annie tends to her herb garden, an oasis of mint. Behind the Shepherd's garden, beyond the lavender beds and the lemon tree that miraculously thrived in British weather, stood a modest wooden shed. To outsiders, it looked like a typical dad's retreat. To Ben, it was something far more special. For months, he'd been sneaking out after dinner. Annie had noticed. He'd return with sawdust on his sleeves and a tired but satisfied smile. At first, she assumed it was a midlife crisis hobby, woodworking perhaps. But Ben had a plan. Inside that shed, he was secretly building something. Not for TV, not for social media, but for Annie. Annie's birthday was approaching. She never wanted a fuss, never liked attention. But Ben had been saving notes from their earliest years together. Ticket stubs, sketches, little jokes scribbled on receipts, and compiling them into a handmade scrapbook titled Still Tipping Towards You, A Love Story in Moments. When she found it on her birthday, tucked under her breakfast tray, she burst into tears. "I can't believe you remembered all this," she whispered. Ben kissed her forehead. "How could I forget?" After 2 decades of carefully managing his work-life balance, Ben decided to shake things up. Inspired by a book he'd read on family adventures, he declared 2026 his yes year. The rules were simple. Say yes to things that scared him. Say yes to family-led adventures. Say yes to projects he'd usually decline as long as they aligned with his values. The results were hilarious and heartwarming. Jack convinced him to learn parkour. Sam dared him to perform stand-up comedy at an open mic night. He did. It was awful. The family still quotes his nervous punchlines at dinner. Annie suggested they go glamping in the Lake District. Rain turned the tent into a swimming pool, and a curious sheep ate Ben's trainers. They laughed until their ribs hurt. But the most unexpected yes came from ITV.
Breaking news. Retirement, or as Ben called it, reprioritizing, didn't mean doing nothing. He returned to painting, started a podcast called The Second Half, interviewing people who reinvented themselves later in life. Teachers turned chefs, lawyers turned poets, ex-athletes who became beekeepers. He also started teaching media classes part-time at a local college. But most importantly, he rediscovered presence. He watched Sam perform Shakespeare at school, proudly mouthing lines from the back row. He helped Jack move into a university dorm, spending 3 hours building a wobbly IKEA desk. He took Annie on spontaneous trips, Edinburgh for a comedy show, Dorset for sea glass hunting, Bruges just for waffles. And every Sunday, the family still gathered around the breakfast table, arguing over pancakes. In 2029, Ben received a surprise letter from the palace. He was being awarded an MBE for services to broadcasting and community engagement. He almost declined. "I'm just a guy who read questions and tried to be kind," he told Annie. But she squeezed his hand. "That's exactly why you deserve it." The ceremony was quiet, understated, just like Ben. He dedicated it to his father, to Annie, and to the viewers